I've seen my share of strange things, but nothing prepares you for a dead woman knocking on your front door. It was just past 8 p.m. on a chilly Friday evening when the call came through dispatch. I was pouring myself a lukewarm cup of gas station coffee at the precinct when the words filtered through the radio like a ghost slipping through walls. Male caller claims his dead wife is standing outside his house. Repeat, deceased wife at the door. My name's Detective Tabby. I've chased missing persons, interrogated men who wore charm like a mask, and solved cases that twisted like vines through rotten soil. But this one made my gut twitch. The address was in the sleepy edge of suburban Maple Hollow, a street where porch lights stayed on too long and neighbors still borrowed sugar like it was 1952. The house belonged to Leonard Case, a man who had once been all over the news for murdering his wife. 15 years ago, Leonard confessed to killing his wife, Evelyn, after a heated argument. The body was never found, but the circumstantial evidence was enough. Blood in the trunk, a neighbor's testimony, a burned diary, all pointed to guilt. He'd served 15 years. Got out 2 years ago. Quiet. Low profile. Until tonight. When I pulled up, Leonard was pacing the porch, pale as winter moonlight and trembling like he'd seen a ghost. Because maybe he had. She's in there, he whispered, eyes wide, pointing toward the living room where a woman sat on his couch, legs crossed, sipping tea. She looked alive. Real. Breathing. Not a flicker of fear in her eyes. In fact, she smiled when she saw me. Detective Tabby, she said before I introduced myself. It's been a long time. I studied her. She matched Evelyn Case's photos perfectly, same auburn hair, same tiny scar under the left eye, same jade necklace she was supposedly buried in. Ma'am, may I ask your name? I asked slowly, cautiously, my hand hovering near my sidearm though she didn't appear. Dangerous. Evelyn, she said simply. Evelyn Case. Leonard stumbled behind me. I killed you, he muttered. I buried you near the creek. You were gone. Apparently not, she replied, smiling gently at him. You must have buried someone else. That was when the room dipped sideways. I ordered a background check. We took Evelyn, or whoever she was, into the station for questioning. Fingerprints matched Evelyn Case's old driver's license. DNA still pending. But something deeper was wrong, and it wasn't just the impossible biology. It was the calm in her eyes. Like she'd known she'd come back. Leonard, meanwhile, was spiraling. He kept insisting he had buried her, wrapped in a blue blanket near Coldwater Creek in the dead of night. He remembered the weight of the shovel, the smell of her hair, the sound of dirt hitting her chest. This wasn't some metaphor. He knew what he'd done. But now here she was. Alive. Wearing the same necklace she'd supposedly been buried in. Which left me with 2 questions. 1, who had Leonard really killed? And 2, who the hell was the woman sitting in front of me with Evelyn Case's face, name, and memories? Cases like this don't come with straight lines. They come with riddles wrapped in lies, and sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't that someone lied, it's that they didn't. As I watched her sip her tea and smile, I felt something cold crawl up my spine. She knew something we didn't. And whatever secret she carried had been buried deeper than any body. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was haunted by Evelyn's soft voice or her unsettling calm, though both lingered in my mind like a fog, but because the forensic team called me at 2:13 a.m. We found something, Detective. Coldwater Creek. The place Leonard claimed he'd buried his wife. And sure enough, a few feet from the coordinates he'd provided, we found bones. Human remains. A woman, based on the pelvis structure. Estimated to have been buried around 15 years ago. Leonard wasn't lying. He did kill someone. But if that wasn't Evelyn Case lying in the shallow grave, then who is it? I drove out to the scene just as the moon dipped low. The soil was soft, damp, like it had been waiting to give up its secret. The texts were whispering, avoiding my eyes. One of them finally broke the silence. She had a necklace, he said. Blue stone. Almost identical to the one the woman's wearing now. Identical. Not similar. I stared at the necklace bagged in evidence, heart thrumming. This case wasn't just twisted, it was mocking us. Back at the precinct, Evelyn was still sitting comfortably in the holding room. We hadn't officially charged her, couldn't. Legally, she hadn't done anything wrong. And if she was Evelyn Case, she was the victim. But that smile. Evelyn, I said as I sat down across from her, do you remember your funeral? She chuckled softly. I wasn't invited. Her wit was unnerving. Her memory of old addresses, her marriage to Leonard, even the name of the midwife who delivered her in 1974, all of it checked out. We even tested her handwriting against letters Evelyn had written to her sister in the 90s. Spot on. But here's the problem. The remains we found? They belonged to Evelyn Case too. DNA came back that afternoon. 99.9% match. The body was Evelyn. So, how could there be two Evelyn Cases? Leonard was transferred into psych evaluation, not for his safety, but ours. He kept muttering, I buried her. I buried her. But she's not dead. No one had the guts to tell him the results. Instead, I asked Evelyn, the talking Evelyn, if she could remember the day she disappeared. Her expression shifted for the first time. Not fear, not confusion, just stillness. I remember pain, she said slowly. I remember water. Cold water. Like drowning, but not quite. And then, waking up in a hospital in Vermont under the name Eva Collins. Someone said I'd been in an accident. I didn't remember my name for a while. Eva Collins. We searched that name. Sure enough, hospital records from 8 years ago showed a Jane Doe admitted after being found unconscious near a lake in Vermont. No ID. Head injury. Stayed at a mental facility for nearly 2 years. She had scars on her scalp consistent with blunt force trauma. Was it possible Evelyn didn't die, but Leonard thought she did? Was the woman he buried someone else? Or was this all one giant performance? I checked the Vermont facility records again. And that's when I saw it. Visitor logs. Only one name appeared more than once. Grace Holloway. I froze. Grace Holloway was Evelyn's childhood friend. She had disappeared in 2009, a year before Evelyn's alleged murder. No body. No leads. Just gone. I suddenly remembered the matching necklace found on the body in the creek. Evelyn's necklace. Or maybe Grace's imitation of it. I looked at Evelyn or Eva or whoever she was and asked one final question. Did Grace ever have access to your personal belongings? Her smile returned. She had access to everything, she said softly. Even my face. I've seen killers lie with tears in their eyes. I've seen victims turn out to be monsters. But never have I questioned the identity of a living woman more than I questioned Evelyn Case. Or Eva Collins. Or Grace Holloway? After that eerie sentence, she had access to everything. Even my face. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The tone. The smirk. It was like she wanted me to peel away the layers, like she enjoyed being a puzzle no one could solve. I needed a forensic angle. Something tangible. Something that couldn't lie. I ordered a full facial reconstruction comparison. Advanced biometrics. We had high school photos of Evelyn. Childhood photos of Grace. Old driver's licenses. Medical scans. The lab worked overnight. Meanwhile, I dove into Grace's background. She and Evelyn had grown up inseparable. 2 girls in matching clothes, same haircut, even same handwriting, as if mimicking each other was their form of affection. Their mothers used to joke, they're like 2 halves of one soul. Except one half had disappeared. and the other had supposedly been murdered. I reviewed Evelyn's psych evaluations from Vermont. All the records under the name Eva Collins. She was cooperative, soft-spoken, but never gave enough detail to confirm her past. The hospital classified her as amnesiac but stable. But then I found a note, one small slip in the medical file. Patient asked for blue necklace upon discharge. Claims it's a gift from her sister Grace, though she previously denied having siblings. It hit me like a punch to the chest. She never denied knowing Grace. She denied having a sister. Why change the story? And that necklace, the one buried with the body, wasn't just similar. It was identical. The same chipped corner, the same scratch under the clasp. The kind of flaw only an owner would know. Someone had swapped places. But who? Just after dawn, the lab results came in. Facial mapping confirmed it. The woman in our cell wasn't Evelyn Case. Her bone structure, though similar, had a 94% match with Grace Holloway, not Evelyn. Which meant the real Evelyn Case had been murdered and buried, just like Leonard confessed. And this woman, this imposter, was wearing her life like a stolen coat. I returned to the holding room. She didn't look surprised to see me. She even offered a small, amused nod. "You found it, didn't you?" she said. I didn't respond. I just slid the lab report onto the table. She glanced at it without flinching. "Took you longer than I thought, Detective Tabby." "So who are you?" I asked. "Eva? Grace?" A calm woman playing dead women's lives like chess pieces. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp now. No longer playing helpless or broken. "I was Grace," she whispered. "But I lived Evelyn's life better than she ever did. You killed her. I freed her." A long silence stretched between us. "I was there that night," she continued. "Leonard didn't just snap. Evelyn begged him to kill her. She was tired of being invisible, tired of feeling like a shadow. I tried to stop him, but I was too late. When it was over, I stayed. I cleaned up. I became her. You forged everything." She smiled. "No need. I was her in every way that mattered. I knew her passwords, her habits, even her handwriting. And guess what, detective? No one noticed. She wasn't wrong. No one had noticed. Until now." I stood up slowly. Impersonation. Fraud. Obstruction. But murder. I paused. "You're going to prison for that." She tilted her head. "You think I care?" she whispered. "I buried Grace Holloway years ago. Evelyn Case died in that creek. I'm just what's left." She tapped her temple lightly. "And the dead don't fear prison. I've always believed the dead leave behind breadcrumbs, small truths woven into journals, photos, even the silence they once occupied. Evelyn Case had left something behind too, something no imposter could rewrite. Her diary. It was found by accident, tucked in the lining of an old suitcase in her family's attic, sealed in plastic, untouched by time or weather. The name Evelyn was etched faintly on the inside flap, in the kind of cursive only girls from a certain era learned to write. I sat alone in my office that night. No noise. Just the soft rustle of pages, the sound of a ghost telling me her side of the story. April 11th. Grace is slipping again. She says I stole her skin. I don't know what that means, but sometimes she looks at me like she wants to unzip my face and wear it. April 18th. Leonard and Grace had another argument. She accused him of staring at me. I think she's losing her grip. She's jealous of everyone. Of everything. I wish she'd leave. May 2nd. I caught Grace in my room again. She was wearing my robe. My perfume. She stood in front of the mirror whispering, "I'm Evelyn now." I told her to stop. She just laughed. May 15th. Leonard kissed me. I didn't kiss back. But Grace saw. I swear she saw. I'm scared. I can feel something coming, something wrong. I want to run. but I think it's too late. The entries grew more erratic, shorter, jittery. And then came the final one, a single sentence. If I go missing, it won't be me they find. It'll be her, pretending. I froze. This wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. It was premeditated. Planned. Evelyn had sensed it, the twisted obsession, the slow erasure of her own life by the one person she thought would protect it. Grace didn't just steal Evelyn's name. She engineered her disappearance. But what shook me most was what Evelyn hadn't written. No accusations. No hatred. Only fear, a quiet, patient fear. The kind that whispers instead of screams. Armed with the diary, I went back to the station. Grace, or whatever she called herself now, was quiet in the cell, calmly folding a tissue into origami shapes. I slid the book under the glass. She looked at it and stopped. "That's not evidence," she said softly. "That's poetry." Her goodbye. You read it. I lived it. There was no smile now. No arrogance. Just grief. "She always had more light than me," Grace whispered. "When we were kids, I'd dress like her. Talk like her. I wanted to be her. But she was the real one. I was just background noise." "So you killed her." "I became her," she insisted. "Is that a crime?" "I gave Leonard what he wanted. I gave the world Evelyn, smiling, punctual, perfect Evelyn. I wanted to scream. But instead, I asked one final question. Where's her body?" She stared down at the table. One heartbeat. Two. Then, in the lake. Waited. Wrapped in her favorite quilt. The one with the swans. She loved that blanket. Her voice cracked. We used to share it. When we were little. Divers recovered the body 2 days later. DNA confirmed it. The real Evelyn Case had been murdered, smothered, then sunk beneath the surface like a secret no one was supposed to find. And Grace? She was charged with identity theft, obstruction, and second-degree murder. But her trial never happened. She took her life in her cell the night before the arraignment. Left no note, only that necklace Evelyn once wore, placed carefully on the cot. Almost like a peace offering. I closed the case file, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Evelyn still lingered, not just in memory, but in every mirror Grace once stood before, every whisper of, "I'm Evelyn now." It wasn't just murder. It was erasure. A woman trying so desperately to be seen that she killed the only one who ever truly looked back at her. I'd seen a lot in my years as a detective, double lives, forged deaths, and broken minds. But Evelyn Mallory was the first case that made me question reality itself. The DNA results came in. The woman claiming to be Evelyn? A perfect match. Yet, she'd been declared legally dead for 8 years. The man who confessed to killing her was still behind bars, though his claims now sounded less like a lie and more like a cover-up gone terribly wrong. I revisited the records. Photographs from the crime scene. Autopsy reports. Tooth fragments supposedly matched to Evelyn. All airtight. All fabricated? The forensics pathologist who signed off on the report was now mysteriously deceased. The case officer at the time had retired, then disappeared to some off-grid cabin in Montana. Evelyn's original dental records had been conveniently lost in transfer years ago. Something darker was at play. I confronted Evelyn again, in a controlled room, two-way glass, psychologists on standby. "Who are you really?" I asked her directly. She just stared at her reflection in the glass. "Some days. I don't even know." Her voice trembled, not from fear, but fatigue. A woman worn down by pretending, or maybe remembering. "I buried a woman once," she finally said. "But it wasn't me." It hit me like a freight train. Evelyn Mallory hadn't died. Someone else had. Someone who looked like her, maybe a sister, maybe a stranger. The man who confessed? He might have killed the wrong woman, or the right one, but for the wrong reasons. And the Evelyn we were speaking to now? She had stepped into a new life, living under the radar with a different family, raising 2 kids who called her mom, all while her killer rotted in prison. Was it guilt that made her come back? Or fear that someone else was finally piecing it all together? When I left the room, I didn't feel justice. I felt uncertainty crawling up my spine. The district attorney called me 2 days later. "We're reopening the case," he said, "and sealing it from the public for now. Too many holes. Too many reputations at stake." We couldn't prove who died that night. We couldn't even prove who Evelyn really was anymore. The man who confessed? Released under the radar. A non-disclosure order pinned to his chest. Evelyn? She vanished. No digital footprint. No trace. As if she had only stepped in to remind us how fragile truth really is, and then stepped back into the shadows where she'd lived for nearly a decade. I still wake up some nights, hearing her voice echo in my dreams. Some days. I don't even know. But I do know this: memory is flawed. And murder never stays buried. So tell me, if the woman who knocked on your door looked just like the one you buried, what would you believe? Detective Tabby.